Somewhere in the land that'll one day be known as the state of Washington, a woman wearing furs and buckskins carves rudimentary knives out of flint and bone and uses them to skin a deer she's just taken down with a homemade bow and arrow. The deer is butchered, its meat salted for safekeeping, and its skin tanned into fine leather, perfect for being sewed into clothing or as the walls for a simple shelter. This is the world of Lynx, and while this might seem like a throwback to the Stone Age, it's actually happening right now in 2020. You probably have a lot of questions. That's understandable. Not everyone decides to abandon their lives in the so-called civilized world and live like a literal caveman in the woods. But Lynx isn't one of those people. Nobody could argue that modern life doesn't come with its own set of unique pressures and anxieties, from bills and mortgages to navigating the murky world of social situations and romance. Couple that with the looming threats of societal unrest, disease, political strife, and climate change, and you begin to understand why living off the grid might hold some appeal. Lynx, a 54-year-old half-British, half-Swedish expat from the UK, whose real name is still a mystery, was one of the first to decide that the 21st century just really wasn't for her. And this is understandable when you consider the context. Lynx grew up in London during the 1970s and 80s, one of the most crowded and oppressive cities in the English-speaking world, which Lynx herself largely remembers for its concrete and dismal gray. Some areas of London have such low air quality that just living there is equivalent to smoking a cigarette every day. In other words, if you're into clean living, one of the birthplaces of the Industrial Revolution probably isn't the place for you. She spent time with the indigenous Sami reindeer herders in her ancestral home of Sweden and found a kind of spiritual awakening in 1989 with her first sweat lodge ceremony. After the ceremony, Lynx claimed that she suddenly realized she needed to return to the earth and learn the old ways. This little spark of spiritual inspiration ended up dictating the entire course of the rest of her life. In the Beartooth Mountains of Montana many years later, she climbs the rocks with calloused hands and makeshift leather boots tanned from scratch. When she reaches a vantage point, she stares out over the surrounding forests and searches for a clearing. When she finds one, she climbs down from the rocky grabs and gathers up her supplies. She knows she'll need to gather firewood if she wants to stay warm tonight, but that's fine. It's trees as far as the eye can see, and with her trusty flint knife, even the thickest branches can be sawn off eventually. She's never felt so alive. That's why Lynx traveled to the wilds of North America. She floated from place to place, not surviving, but really living. She lived in a Native American-style teepee on the dusty plains of Arizona, acclimating herself to the dry and unforgiving desert heat. She spent time in the states of Montana and New Mexico, with a roof only of stars until she mastered the art of yurt building. She'd gather branches from the forest to create a kind of skeleton for supporting and shaping tanned animal hides, perfect for keeping out water and maintaining a decent temperature. She assembled the branches and hides into a kind of squat dome, cozy but with plenty of space for her light assortment of supplies. She felt more at home there than she ever did inside a building made of bricks and mortar. Now, it's important to remember that Lynx isn't just a masochist or a hardcore survivalist. Everything she does has a unique philosophy. Lynx isn't preparing for doomsday. As far as she's concerned, doomsday might as well have happened 20 years ago. Her journey into the wild was more about learning to truly thrive in nature, rather than just enduring it after developed civilization ceases to be viable. Lynx's way of life is designed for someone who wants to live like a Stone Age human, not someone forced into the position by a world-ending catastrophe. She'd spent days building a kayak from wood and hide. It was trial and error mostly, with phases of experimenting, sinking and waterproofing, but that's fine. Lynx doesn't want to see nature as an enemy that needs to be conquered, but a friend she wants to grow closer to. When the kayak finally works, she paddles out into the open river and lets it guide her. Out there, away from everything and everyone, she truly understands her place in the world. And that place isn't smog, crime, and a grueling 9-to-5 rat race. In a strange new world where her survival depends entirely on her own actions, she's finally found an authentic sense of peace. It's a feeling so special she wants to give it to everyone. Lynx was granted a golden opportunity to spread her way of life after the death of her mother left her with a generous inheritance. Rather than use the money as an excuse to abandon her Paleolithic lifestyle, she saw it as a means to take it up a notch and expand her tribe. Lynx bought a 5-acre plot of land around 12 miles outside the town of Twisp in Okanogan County, north-central Washington. Twisp is a small, secluded community buried in the forests of the Pacific Northwest, with a population smaller than 1,000 people. It might not have been the Arizona desert, but it was still a far cry from the dense, overpopulated nightmare of London, so it suited Lynx's needs just fine. Lynx's plot of land is slightly more modern than her previous nomadic existence, with running water and a working power outlet thanks to some solar panels installed by the land's previous owner. Lynx's base of operations is a large log cabin which she uses intermittently for storage, and even then, she only lights it with primitive homemade tallow candles. She also prefers to drink water she's collected from the Columbia River rather than the running water from the faucet, and she doesn't even sleep in the cabin herself. Even though she could, in theory, indulge in the comforts of a futon, she instead sleeps in a more basic settlement, another handmade yurt she's constructed deeper in the woods. Even when given the resources to live in basic comfort, Lynx remains committed to her lifestyle choices. Her true passion, however, was teaching, hoping to guide others to that same revelation she had in the sweat lodge ceremony decades ago. Her teaching mission began with the Four Seasons Prehistoric Projects, a series of outings across North America wherein Lynx tried to train eager apprentices in her carefully cultivated wilderness living skills. The first major project, known as the Kootenai River Mountain Project, began in 2001 in the northwestern plateau of North America. It was the trial run of what Lynx would later refer to as the Stone Age Living Series, where recruits would spend 2 months in a Stone Age-style camp and subsist off the surrounding land. After this first camp was a resounding success, Lynx began making it a regular thing. Later, in the fall of 2003, Lynx arranged a bow hunting experience in western Montana with the Yak River Hunter-Gatherer Project. During this project, Lynx and her small team of volunteers strengthened their hunting skills by constructing bows and arrows from scratch and hunting the local wildlife. However, due to unexpected rain and the inexperience of the people involved as bow hunters, the project was called off early due to malnutrition risks. Lynx later jokingly referred to this incident as the Starvation Project, but she wasn't dissuaded from her Stone Age living cause. In 2004, Lynx and another group of volunteers, all eager to escape the boredom and anxieties of modern life, returned to the Kootenai River, this time with the intention of learning more about boat crafting and general river transportation. With the help of a local from British Columbia, Lynx and her team managed to learn the secret of making rudimentary canoes for traveling down the Kootenai from Canada to Montana. Nobody starved, and the team managed to paddle an impressive 70 miles, so this project was a success. In 2005, Lynx experienced another major life change after divorcing her partner, with whom she'd had a daughter. This new emancipation inspired both a move out of Montana and a new project dubbed Nomad Summer out in New Mexico. In this 3-month session, Lynx and her team traveled across the New Mexico wilderness, slaughtering buffalo, making buckskin clothes, hunting, gathering, and fishing. Lynx was becoming a more consummate wilderness survivor with every project and passing her growing knowledge along to others in the process. After that, the projects became more ambitious and their names became stranger and more mystical. Peace Creek in 2007, Mystic Mountain in 2009, and Sawtooth Ridge in 2010. Lynx and the team sharpened their hunting and survival skills throughout, as well as their abilities to build clothes and shelters from the natural resources around them, all without using technology available to anyone beyond the Neolithic period. Much like Lynx's time in the sweat lodge ceremony, many of her recruits felt as though they'd lost some inherent connection with themselves and the Earth as part of the modern world. Recruits have described Lynx's projects as being as much of a spiritual lesson as a practical one. People undergoing divorces or bereavement also seem to be an intriguingly frequent type of customer who, much like Lynx herself during the Nomad Summer, feel the need to know themselves as individuals again, as well as reinforcing their connection to the natural world around them. Overall, the kinds of people who attend Lynx's projects are fascinatingly diverse, from whole families with children as young as 8 to disaffected middle-aged businessmen to elders in their late 70s and early 80s. Getting to spend some time off the grid apparently has universal appeal. The only thing that Lynx claims unites her clients is a strong sense of motivation and a deep desire to better understand nature and themselves, though people under 18 aren't allowed to join without parental supervision. This is largely because Lynx's lifestyle can be extremely physically and mentally demanding to first-timers who aren't used to it. Lynx's projects become even more frequent in the 2010s, now that she's developed her skills in everything from making fires from scratch to hardcore mountaineering. These projects include White Clouds in 2011, Hidden Lakes in 2012, Inward Journey in 2013, Smoky Mountains in 2014, and finally Twisp River in 2015, where Lynx's current long-term settlement is based. After 2011, the Four Seasons Prehistoric Project became the Living Wild School, Lynx's organization devoted solely to passing on the knowledge and virtues of her naturalistic lifestyle to others. Through her over 20 years living in the wilderness and teaching others to do the same, Lynx has learned a broad range of interesting survivalist skills. These skills include making fires and shelters from scratch, a recognition of edible and medicinal plants and animals, hunting, trapping, fishing, tool construction, clothes making, horseback riding, cooking, pottery, and more. People who've attended Lynx's intensive months-long classes have nothing but praise, citing the experience as life-changing. One participant summed up the general feeling after attending the 2007 expedition, saying, "It doesn't get much better than this." Lynx Vilden continues to provide these classes to this day, offering the opportunity to be part of her Living Wild experience for as little as $200 damage deposit. In an age where modern life has left many feeling trapped in an inescapable box of routine and work obligation, it's easy to see the appeal of Lynx's off-the-grid lifestyle. Many would probably at least consider trading the long-term anxieties of mortgages, education, and bills for the more immediate stresses of gathering or capturing the next meal. Maybe Lynx is the smart one, getting away from it all. Though we should probably remind you that there's no Wi-Fi in the wilderness, so you wouldn't be able to watch new videos from the infographics show, so is it really worth the trouble? Thanks for watching. Check out Surviving 72 Hours in the Forest Alone, Challenge and Experiment, and what you should do to survive in the wilderness for more fascinating tips, tricks, and stories about living off the beaten track.